ago today, Antifa versus freedom in Berkeley with Keith of Patriot Warrior Media. Hello everyone, in this video I'll be talking with Keith of Patriot Warrior Media mainly about what happened 1 year ago today, March 4th, 2017, when historically significant events took place at the March for Trump event in Berkeley, California. It was a day of import for the so-called culture war, but more importantly, we're dealing with the civil rights issue here. This is a matter of American civil liberties, of constitutional rights. And Patriot Warrior Media was there. Keith was there on the ground in the heart of the action. They're recording the action up close, which we'll return to. But first, quick note before I proceed any further. Yesterday, Keith was on Halsey Live, episode 97, Are the Police Sheltering Antifa? So check out that video, see the link below. Also see the link below for Keith's channel, Patriot Warrior Media, from chasing hurricanes to filming riots from inside the Black Bloc to appearing on TV with Tucker Carlson. Keith's videos are amazing and criminally underwatched. So subscribe to his channel and click that little bell icon. Keith puts himself in danger to document what the quote-unquote media just won't do, and he's been beaten badly for doing so. He should have millions of subscribers, so please subscribe to his channel. Also, I recommend watching the videos titled Interview with Keith of Patriot Warrior Media and Interview with Keith of Patriot Warrior Media Part 2. These are my interviews that I did with Keith a few months ago. See the links below. Those videos are more extensive interviews with Keith with a lot of information, a lot of knowledge that he's gathered, a lot of things that he's seen and experienced. So check those out too. To give this video a bit of historical context, in the summer of 2016, some neo-Nazi skinheads, the Golden State Skinheads, and some white nationalists, the Traditionalist Workers' Party, planned a rally at the California State Building in Sacramento. By the way, I'm not just accusing them of being these things, I've already demonstrated that they are those things in my video titled Regressive Left Terrorists versus Civil Rights, so see the links below for those too. They had a permit and they were going to exercise their constitutional right to freedom of assembly and freedom of speech. However reprehensible these guys are, however disgusting their speech may have been that day if they were to speak, it is important for everyone's sake that their constitutional rights be upheld. BAMN and Antifa and affiliated groups knew about this event beforehand. They planned to attack, they recruited hundreds of people. Hundreds of people showed up and traveled to the state capitol to shut down this rally, and they were there early. In fact, they attacked a couple of reporters and other innocent people while they were waiting for the Traditionalist Worker Party and the Golden State Skinheads to show up. It seems that the Traditionalist Workers Party did not actually show up, or at least they didn't get anywhere near the park, it seems, but the Golden State Skinheads did. Now, the Golden State Skinheads, these are combat boot-wearing, hardcore punk, white power skinheads carrying shields with clubs, and some of them had knives. Long before they arrived, though, the police were already there, prepared for violence. When the Golden State Skinheads approached the steps where they were permitted to hold their rally, the police told them that they had to go around to a different side of the building, and when the Golden State Skinheads did so, they were charged by hundreds of BAMN and Antifa people while the police were nowhere to be found, thereby violating their sworn oath and betraying all Americans. Hundreds of angry people, many with weapons, charged those 20 or so Golden State Skinhead guys, so they were greatly outnumbered. The Golden State Skinheads quickly fled, but not before stabbing a few Antifas. Moving ahead about half a year to February 1st, 2017, UC Berkeley, where BAMN and Antifa had a very strong presence, Milo Yiannopoulos was scheduled to speak. Ironically, he was to speak at the Student Union building named after Martin Luther King Jr., who of course condemned both violence and riots, despite the current rhetoric that he didn't. He clearly did. Unlike Malcolm X, who advocated for achieving their ends, how did you put that, Malcolm X?
By any means necessary.
Thank you. Well, the group, By Any Means Necessary, showed up at the Martin Luther King Jr. building where a prominent By Any Means Necessary member, a teacher at Martin Luther King Jr. High School, incited a riot of hundreds and hundreds by saying things like, quote, "Don't hold back tonight," unquote, and otherwise urged them to shut down Milo's talk by any means necessary. In other words, violence and destruction, which were clearly condemned by Martin Luther King Jr. himself, a great man. Again, this is a matter of constitutional rights, the right to peacefully assemble and the right to free speech. Keith of Patriot Warrior Media was there in the heart of the action. He has many videos, check them out. Before and after the event, the propaganda and the rhetoric from BAMN and Antifa mounted to the following narrative. Remember those Nazi skinheads in Sacramento in 2016, the one who stabbed people of color and people standing up for immigrant rights? Well, they're coming to UC Berkeley to hear the hate speech of a white supremacist transphobe named Milo. And their real plan is to recruit alt-right people into their cause and to plan attacks on immigrant communities and LGBT communities, and so Milo must not be allowed to speak, and he must be shut down by any means necessary. Many people saw videos such as those that Keith recorded that day, February 1st. They saw the violence, they saw the way that the police did almost nothing, and they knew that something had to be done about this. Not just for the innocent people being attacked, although that's very important, but also for our constitutional rights. They were not a bunch of Nazis, okay? Despite whatever the media or Antifa may tell you, they were just people. No, they weren't exactly white supremacists. A lot of them were not even white. So apparently many of us thought, well, somebody needs to put on some sort of a helmet and put on some hockey equipment or something, because March 4th happened 1 year ago, and some people showed up with this thought in mind. And although they may not be perfect people, although some of these guys are actually not very happy with me because we don't agree on everything, that's okay. They deserve a lot of credit for doing what they did. They put their bodies on the line. People like Base Stickman Kyle Chapman and people like Base Kiltman were arrested. They put their bodies on the line. They took blows, and they did it for innocent people and freedom of speech. And despite being called Nazis or whatever, here's what they actually had to say on that day.
This is a movement of all race and creed.
It's about Americans.
We disavow
We're all Americans.
Absolutely disavow.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Gay, straight, black, white, doesn't matter what color you are, everybody's for freedom.
And we're in Martin Luther King Jr. Park, who talked about judging people not by the color of their skin, but by the content
of their character.
And that's what it's all about.
So the March for Trump thing was a sort of a reaction from Richard Black, by the way, a man who calls himself a libertarian, who, partially in reaction to February 1st, organized this event. And it sort of merged with the March for Trump thing that was going to go on that day anyway. So they sort of merged together. According to the article, I'm not saying it's all true, but according to the article, Pro-Trump March Turns Violent at Berkeley by Ethan Harfinist, if I'm saying that correctly, quote, while the event was billed as a march for the 45th president, organizer Richard Black, a self-described libertarian, said it was also a march for freedom of speech and to send a message that the mayhem that broke out in Berkeley on February 1st will not be tolerated. Black-clad anti-fascists responded violently to fans of Yiannopoulos, who was supposed to deliver a speech on campus that was eventually canceled. Quote, this is a response to those who had their First Amendment rights sort of physically stripped from them that day, unquote, Black told us in an interview on Friday. Quote, they were kind of forced out of the school and physically assaulted by those on the radical fringe left who have sort of been terrorizing campuses all over the U.S. by shutting down these lectures and limiting free speech and open discussion and open discourse, unquote. Although counter-protest organizers previously said that there was a possibility that white nationalists would join the march, Black insisted that this march was not organized to spread a message of hate and that it attracted a diverse group of people, and it did. Quote, that's the thing I have to keep reminding people. This isn't so much liberals versus conservatives and so on and so forth, unquote, he said, adding that some in the Bay Area smeared the march before it even began. Quote, we have communist-oriented media sites saying we're going there to provoke immigrants and harass minorities. It's absurd. Co-organizer Kathy Zhu, a pro-Trump activist, also denied that the Berkeley March was solely dedicated to Trump. Quote, this isn't a protest. This is more of a celebration of our First Amendment rights. We want people to know that they cannot censor others, unquote, she told us in an email. Quote, free speech has nothing to do with Trump at all, but more of an American standard as a whole. The U.S. was founded on our freedoms, and radical lefts should not censor those who want to speak on a college campus and burn things when they don't get their way, unquote. Zhu also dismissed the idea that the march was somehow connected to prejudiced groups and accused members of the left of inciting more violence than right-wingers. Quote, we are not violent like how the lefts portray us to be. We have always had peaceful marches and events. Only the lefts make it violent. Antifa has been posting my photos around social media for people to target me and hunt me down because of my views, unquote, she said. Quote, when did being a conservative, supporting your president, and practicing our First Amendment right make us all alt-right and a white nationalist, unquote. Indeed. It is absurd. Now, originally, this video here was going to be a conversation about that day with Keith of Patriot Warrior Media and Crowman17 and myself. Also, I was going to try to get Simi Singh of Very Fake News in there too if I could, but, you know, I'm actually banned from Facebook for a while, so I can't communicate with a lot of people right now. Crowman was going to do this from a desert during a camping trip with a portable hotspot, but we haven't heard from him since he left, so I hope he's okay. But anyway, Keith and I talked for about 3 hours or so. But sorry to say, the video recording of our talk is all scrambled. Not just visual problems, but also, well, mainly it's the audio problem. We tried again the next day and we spent hours trying to figure out some sort of combination of programs that would allow us to both see and hear each other and record it all successfully without it being scrambled. It was a frustrating day for both of us, but in the end, however, Keith did successfully manage to record us. So here we go, folks. I started off by asking Keith about the rhetoric beforehand about the March for Trump in Berkeley last year.
Can you tell us what you found the March for Trumpers and other people to be? How would you characterize the people that you saw there on that side?
Yeah, you know, when I first got there, it certainly didn't look like hardened protesters or, you know, anything like that. And I think a lot of them were people that just, you know, wanted to go to a nice Trump thing. And there were, you know, Latin people, black people, white people, Asian people, just pretty much a typical cross section of nationalities that you always see around the Bay Area anyway. Certainly not a bunch of, you know, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryans or anything like that.
And they had, say, American flags and or Trump signs and regalia and stuff like that?
Yeah, but I mean, in the beginning, not even much of that, you know. When I first got there around 9 o'clock, there just was not maybe 20 people there and maybe 20 Antifa or whatever, and everybody was well apart. And, yeah, so, I mean, there certainly was nothing I would say would be triggering. It's not like anybody was in their faces with waving flags and, you know, anything like that.
No Nazi flags, no Sikh Heil marching and goose stepping?
No Confederate flags or the Gladstone flag that triggers people sometimes. Right. Yeah, so no.
Okay, so it's not exactly the Nazi recruitment rally that they made it out to be.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed in your video titled Terrorist Berkeley School Teacher Yvette Falarka at it again, that you can hear her saying that they were concerned about neo-Nazis and racists who may be attracted to or come to the Trump rally.
Is the intention of the counter-protest to remain peaceful?
This counter-protest is committed to making sure that we stop any violent attacks by neo-fascists or racists who might try to come because there's a pro-Trump rally, but also to make sure that we ensure and defend the right and safety of this community and also of the movement as a whole against any of the violent attacks of ICE coming into the communities and taking our immigrant students, our immigrant neighbors and friends, that we stop any violent attacks against Muslims or Jewish people in this community and in this country.
Now, she kind of let that slip, but that's something very important that people should know. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you recorded that around 9-ish a.m. or so.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right, yeah.
Right, okay. And then there's a video with a guy in a green jacket where you start recording in the middle of a conversation, but there is some sort of, I would say, maybe a heated conversation, not really an argument, between a man of Asian descent with an accent and a guy in a green jacket. Can you tell us a little bit? Okay, can you tell us who the green jacket guy is? Because if you just listen to it as audio, it sounds like somebody, say, from a KKK rally, haranguing a person of color. But who was the guy in the green jacket, and who was he with?
Yeah, that's really funny because he was with, you know, Yvette Falarka and her crew, the Antifa and all of that. I mean, that's who he was with. That's who he was hanging with. He had anti-Trump. I might have been carrying an anti-Trump sign or something anti-Trump, and he was definitely not on the side of the Patriots. but he was going after some Asian-like kid pretty vehemently.
And he cannot say to a camera or during a protest.
Yeah, but I don't think that allows like violence. I mean, I don't think violence is associated.
Why are you speaking the language of people? Why are you in this country? Everything in your world was established by violence. Everything, your language, your religion, your nationality, everything.
Now, again, folks, if you just listened to that and you heard those words coming out of somebody in a KKK outfit or maybe somebody carrying a rebel flag, that would make sense. But keep in mind, as Keith just said, this guy's with the AMN. He came there with Falarkin, etc. Can you tell us a little bit about the conduct on both sides as the day went on in terms of violence?
Yeah, I was surprised. I don't know. I didn't know the people I was filming, so I was surprised that the Patriots, free speech people, Trump supporters showed an incredible amount of restraint because, at some point, then, BAM and whoever else was there, Antifa, came across across the field to the Patriots, and, they started in with their usual, screaming and yelling and swearing and just haranguing the free speech people, just on and on and on and on and on. And I remember hearing all that hate and thinking, number one, this is not going to stay vocal. It's going to get physical. And then thinking, why is it taking so long for it to actually get, but then when it went off, it went off.
Now, folks, I'll put there's going to be links for his channel in the description below. And I want you to go and click on videos on his channel and then click sort by date, go oldest to newest. Look for the video titled Pussy Spoiling for a Fight. In this video, Keith, you're standing in the black bloc. You're in there. March 4th, at that point in time, do you want to tell us anything about that? Like, did they just sort of accept you or shrug their shoulders, or what was that like?
That time, initially when I was filming them, a couple of them like wagged their fingers at me like, don't, and I just I would turn the camera away a little bit and then get back to them. But they really didn't object to me being there and filming and taking pictures, and just kind of allowed me to, and I talked to some of them with their masks off before they masked up. Not all of them when they first arrived had their masks on yet because they were well away from the other side, and I don't think they felt like they needed to mask up just yet.
Right. Now, I want to remind the audience, by the time that you see this video, March 4th or later, Keith would have been on Halsey News Network. Okay, and I'll put a link in the description below. It will be Halsey Live, episode 97, Are the Police Sheltering Antifa, scheduled for March 3rd, 2018 at 8 p.m. Pacific time. And that's 23 hours from the time that we're recording this. But by the time my audience or our audience sees this video, it will already be in the past. So I'll put a link to that. But hopefully that goes really well, because, it's really important, folks, that we capture and bring these people to justice. They can't continue to just go out there, with the help of the police, by the way, and violate the constitutional rights of everybody, which returns me to the question now. Okay, well, another quick question about violence, Keith, if you could.
Yeah.
Out of what you saw with your own eyes, did you see did you see first strikes from both sides? Tell us a little bit about that.
No. No, in fact, the first fight that I saw, that I filmed too, was this tall guy, dressed in, I think, black with dark, slicked back hair. And I mean, they were just going after him. I was thinking, wow, man, this guy's not even throwing a punch, and they're giving him like literally every reason to. And then finally this other guy, hit him once, got him right across the mouth or something, and then it was kind of on, but it didn't last. That one didn't last too long. But then, like, all these other, fights broke out around, but yeah, I mean, Antifa were trying to provoke and start fights, and they ended up, it didn't work, so they ended up having to attack first so they could get what they ultimately came for, which was to violently stop the other side from gathering or speaking.
Right. Even though Yvette Flarka pretty much admitted flat out that she knew they were not neo-Nazis or racists, which is pretty crazy. Now, in one of your videos, I believe your video titled, "When Words Aren't Enough," you could see Crowman for a second, you could see Base Kiltman for a second, who would be arrested later on that day. So would Kyle Chapman, Base Stickman. He would be arrested later on. But in this video, you could see Eddie Brock, who was there on February 1st. He was beaten bloody on the steps of the MLK building, along with Colin. But Eddie Brock was there on March 4th. He's talking about what happened to him on Sproul Plaza when he was beaten down. And again, like the guy that you just described, he pretty much mostly just took blows and didn't hit back. And they beat him bloody anyway. No shame from these people. But anyway, as he's telling people there on March 4th in MLK Park about this, how he was beaten down, somebody on the other side comes up and starts deriding him. "Oh, you look like a clown with the blood running down your face. Yeah, we beat your ass good, you and your free speech. You look like a clown."
Anyway, so you can't defend Trump. All you can do is talk about free speech. You come into these things and ask to get your ass kicked. You're happy as a clown when you get your ass kicked. You're so happy. I saw you on television. You look like such an idiot. You're so happy that someone buzzed in your face. You were affirmed that day by getting hit. You actually felt like an action committed. You defend Donald Trump then. Okay, fine. Wait, defend Trump. But you, I thought this was a pro-Trump ballot. So you really want to be for Trump? I was here for freedom of speech. Why are you yelling at me about freedom? You like Trump? You should find somebody who What is your problem against freedom of speech? Why can't these Trump people say what they want to say? I'm just talking. Why can't these Trump people say what they want to say? Oh, so then why should we have violence against them?
Amazing stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with. I mean, as you described, Keith, these were angry people that really, they weren't going to leave without getting some sort of physical satisfaction, apparently.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about the police response, or maybe lack thereof, that day? I mean, apparently we could see on film that they arrested Base Stickman. They stepped in for that. But tell us about what you witnessed with the police conduct, other than your video. I'm going to play a little bit of your video where you walk up and start talking to the cops that are standing off to the side. But go ahead and tell us what you can about that, about the police.
Yeah, they just, kind of like they did at UC Berkeley in the Milo thing, where they really didn't have any interest in protecting people. They didn't have any interest in protecting the building. They really didn't have any interest in doing anything but spectating. Same thing, on March 4th. I mean, they were there and they just watched and they refused to engage or talk about why they, And the only thing I did notice is there was a couple times where someone got dragged over or stumbled over to the cops and they did a little bit of first aid. But other than that, no, they were just totally spectators. And I guess they did a little first aid because someone came over there bleeding from the head and they figured, well, they better do something because people are filming them.
Yeah, would this be the tall, bald guy?
Yes.
Okay, because I did see film of that. I saw a film of a tall, bald guy basically yelling at the cops, pointing to his head that was bleeding.
Yeah.
And then I saw them patch him up a little bit. It's like amazing. It's like wow. And, I guess that's a subject for another video about how this is a ongoing theme there in Berkeley. And as you said, in February and March 4th. And then, of course, in April 15th, you were there again. What about the police response there? Not to mention August 27th, which I guess we'll briefly mention.
Oh, yeah. Same with April 15th. Well, okay. I will say initially, the police lined up, kept the sides apart, and it looked like they might try to do something. But then they
April 15th?
Yeah, on April 15th, and they kind of just back away, and then, fights start going, and, they could have quelled it fairly easy. Most of them had gas masks. If they wanted to put it down and stop it, no Antifa were prepared for any kind of gas or anything like that. I mean, they could have incapacitated everybody, made everybody run, and that would be over, done. But they didn't do that. They stood back and, you know, as usual, watch, and then of course, you know, make a couple key arrests. Like, I know Basic Man, I know there was, I forget, another guy was arrested. I'm not going to mention his name.
Base Kilt Man?
There was also another guy, which I can't mention, but was arrested. But yeah, you know, they let people get attacked. They let people get compromised.
I do have to say, though, there are an overabundance of video online showing that the police did not, in any way, shape, or form, pat down the Antifa members that entered the park in a very large procession.
Yeah, well, you know, I was here that day and actually was here the entire time looking down, and that wasn't exactly my experience. So I don't know where you're seeing those videos or who took the videos or how they were directed, but I was here that day, and I can speak personally that that happened. So there you go.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
My name's Jacqueline.
And you are, what do you do with the mayor's office?
I'm the senior advisor to the mayor.
I see. So you're saying that you witnessed the whole event, and you did not see you didn't see the parade of people in black entering through the park and then crossing over the barriers, carrying flagpoles.
We saw the same thing from the other side as well.
Right. So you saw them carrying flagpoles into the park, right?
I saw both sides carrying flagpoles. Yes.
Right, but one side was disarmed, the other side was not disarmed.
No. Both sides were equally.
No. Okay, did you see the procession of the people in black carrying flags into the park and then across both barriers, carrying also boxes, without police even anywhere nearby?
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you on this because you were in Austin and I'm here in Berkeley, and I actually was here and witnessed both sides and what both sides brought, so I'm not going to engage with you any further on this. If you're going to argue with me about something that I saw with my own eyes and you're in Texas.
Okay, well, at this point, I'm showing my audience video of something that you say you did not see right now. So basically, you are just flat out lying because you are saying that you saw the events. You're saying that you saw the events and that those events did not happen. We can all see right now on video that you are lying to us.
No, that is not at all.
We are now watching the proof that you are lying. Right now, we are watching the proof of you lying. We are watching you. We are watching the proof that you are lying to us right now.
Am I on the air, sir? Am I on the air?
Oh, you expect honesty from me when you won't be honest with me, but you want me to be honest with you?
I am being very honest with you.
No, you are lying, and we're watching the proof right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
And then, of course, I mean, you know, we're skipping over quite a few incidences in which the police did nothing to stop Antifa. I mean, you witnessed that many times, but then there was the infamous one, August 27th, where not only did you witness the police not doing anything, but of course, you were attacked.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Yeah, you know, I thought, oh, great. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, because you know, Antifa are still trailing me. They're still harassing me. You know, and so I don't know at what point they're going to get bored and decide to attack again. There's like, I can barely walk, and so, and then here comes two cop cars, and this guy runs over and goes, stops him and goes, hey, this guy just got his ass kicked by Antifa or whatever. You got to give him an ambulance or something, and they like just slowly cruise by, both cars not carrying. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Now I have to go even farther to get to my car. You know, it's just I could not believe that.
So they just roll on by.
Yeah,
and they did look at you. Am I correct?
Well, you know, I can't say 100% for sure, but if you
because you just suffered some concussions and were knocked unconscious. So,
but if you got a citizen blocking your car, yelling at you and pointing, I think they probably look the way the person's pointing.
Yeah. That's just disgusting. Now, for the audience's sake, it's not that, okay, what goes on, at least in the city of Berkeley, is the decision of how these cops handle these events in Berkeley is made between the city councilman, the mayor, and the chief of the police. It's a secret meeting, but those three, they work out the policies. The policies have almost unanimously been, and correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, when it comes to these rallies that Antifa shows up at, it's almost always been do almost nothing.
Yeah. You know, here's an interesting point. I was told by two different police officers that there is no federal law that requires police officers to protect, to go into the line of fire, anything like that.
Yeah, that was ruled by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, and I think that's criminal right there. Why do we have police officers when they're like that?
Yeah, I mean, what do we need to do? Do we need to, like, make a whole new institution and just call it something slightly different, but, like, be like the police, but actually make sure they protect and serve? You know, of course, when the police do bad things, they often almost always don't get in trouble for, say, beating up or shooting somebody in the back or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the Supreme Court is going to rule that the police don't have to do their job, well, what do we have to do? Because something has to be done.
Yeah.
Well, not to get too depressing.
It's not just a Berkeley police thing. You know, it was in Portland. I know it's in Washington. It's like it's not just one department. You know, they all just, like we said before, it's like they'll search Patriots, they'll search us, and make sure we don't have defensive things or anything, but they will not search Antifa at all.
Right. Now, I don't think they did searches on March 4th.
No, that's
Trump side.
They didn't that time.
That is true.
Right, but then April 15th?
And
you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Initially, they kind of locked access to the park. Oh, man, you know.
The orange stuff all around, the orange fencing stuff all around, that flexi stuff.
Oh, yeah, they did. They did set up a perimeter. I had to end up giving up my monopod because it could be used as a weapon. They searched my backpack. So, yeah, again, they made sure that we didn't have defensive stuff or offensive weapons or anything. But Antifa came up, and, of course, they didn't do a thing. That's the way it is in Portland. Same thing. Like, I went to a December 9th event in Portland, and there was a lot of fighting that day. They made sure that they searched every one of us. But they didn't go across the street and search or check out Antifa at all.
Yeah, it's amazing. Why would that be? And yet, what do you hear from the Antifa side? They're yelling the cops and the Klan go hand in hand, and they would swear up and down that the cops are with the Nazis and etc. But, I mean, in reality, as you say, they disarm the other side and not Antifa. And I've seen it happen time and time again. So that's reality, folks. That is actually going on in some of these cities, you know? I mean, we're all familiar with let's say, the racial profiling and the racial injustice in police departments in some cities, like, say, LA, where they seem to have an extremely bad racist police department problem. But then you have other cities where you have almost the opposite, sort of, you know, it's in a way quite different.
Right, that is true.
But it's still police corruption, man.
Yeah.
Now, on April 15th, there were a lot of smoke or concussion grenades or smoke bombs or smoke canisters being thrown on April 15th, right? And I've heard it time and time and time again from the Antifa side, no, that wasn't us throwing anything. That was the police throwing it at us. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, okay, there was one time where...
M80s, too. There were M80s.
Yeah, okay, so, you know, I think there was one time that police might have popped like a CS thing or something, because I remember walking through after some fights a little bit. I remember walking around and just like this acrid chemicals and coughing and having a hard time breathing for a little bit. But that was like a one time, but the entire day was a boom, boom, boom. And I saw this guy, this one Antifa, he had something that was almost the size of a cigarette pack, a little bit smaller, with like a few inch fuse or so, lighting it to throw it. So there weren't just M80s. There were some improvised, like, explosive devices. And, yeah, in fact, one exploded near this guy's leg, and he had to be helped off. He couldn't really walk. And they were throwing it down the entire day until maybe everyone moved out of the park and went way into the streets, you know, up towards Shattuck. But, yeah,
right,
they were throwing it, you know.
And, of course, the police couldn't – it's not possible the police didn't hear that stuff going off. I mean, you want to tell us how – on video, it sounds – you can't really tell how loud it is. Tell us what it's like to actually feel and hear that.
Yeah, you know, it's – even it doesn't have to explode really close to you to get the sheer volume. I mean, they were loud. And you just don't hear it on the video. I mean, there's there's like the loud like shouting and just the volume is enough to make your ears ring. Or people doing, they get their bullhorns and start doing this squealing with their bullhorns, and literally sometimes they put them right in your ear. But the whole volume you don't capture on the chaos. But yeah, they were throwing those things. I don't know how many they had, but just all the time, bam, bam. It was crazy. It was kind of like a war. It's insane.
Yeah. Damn, man. Now, going back to March 4th, there was at least one transgender person, Amber Cummings, also known as Based Tranny, that was there on the rally side, holding a Trump sign. I think transgenders for Trump sign, something like that. Now, I know, according to Amber, because, Amber's now, my friend on social media, according to Amber, nobody on that side was not welcoming. There weren't anybody there saying, hey, you're a LBGT person, you can't be here,
Yeah.
But she was attacked, though, from the other side, pushed down into the bushes. Did you happen to witness that when Amber was shoved over by somebody about 2 feet away from the Beth Parker?
No, I did not see that. I saw her a number of times, but it's like so much is going on.
Yeah.
I literally now sometimes I'll video with my phone in one direction, video with my video camera in another direction, and then look in a third direction sometime in case, so I don't miss anything. It's kind of crazy in some of those things.
Your estimation on March 4th, around what time did things come to violence around?
It seemed like it took a long time, so I'm thinking like sometime afternoon, like around 1 o'clock, and it just, again, Patriots use so much restraint and put up with so much garbage for so long. It was just unbelievable.
A little bit lopsided in terms of patience and aggression, would you say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Antifa came there to fight, and Patriots, they just wanted to express their free speech, right to assemble, right to march, without experiencing abuse or violence. That's why they were there.
Now, eventually, Base Stickman, Kyle Chapman, a.k.a. Base Stickman, and the guy that they call Base Kiltman, and a few other people eventually did show up with some sort of protective gear, helmets, breathing masks, and some sticks, and etc., because they knew what happened on February 1st, and they kind of knew what to expect, as did you. But can you tell us about the people that were there earlier in the day? Did they look like a bunch of people, geared up for a fight with, say, hockey pads on or anything like that?
No, and I would say that a large majority of the people were not. A lot of them were regular people. Like some people came from Danville that I talked to. I mean, just people, just normal people, mothers, some people older than me, believe it or not. Some, and they were there just to have a good, peaceful time, support President Trump, gather in the park, maybe march a little, and so I don't think that they thought that, even though if they knew what happened at UC Berkeley on the February 1st, I don't think they really thought, or a lot of people thought that something like that would actually happen in the middle of the day, in a park, in the middle of the city. It's like, no way. But there were people that knew there would be violence. I knew there would be violence, and they came prepared to protect the majority that didn't know there would be violence.
Right. Yeah, because, I mean, there would be unsuspecting, hapless victims, were it not for the fact that certain people stepped up to the plate to protect the innocent from these attackers. And these people, perhaps they're not always perfect people, whatever, but, they deserve credit for putting their bodies on the line to do what they saw was right and to protect people's constitutional rights and their safety.
Yeah.
I'm going to give those guys credit. Now, Keith, you and I, we've been at this, for the audience's sake, you and I have been trying to do a video chat, Skype, Google Hangouts for hours and hours today. So I'm pretty sure both of us are so mentally exhausted.
Oh, my gosh.
But and at this point in time, I have to rush like crazy to try to get a video out by March 4th. So we're going to wrap this up. But I want to thank you, first of all, for doing what you do for going out there and for filming these things from the actual inside, so that way we know what's actually going on. That way, when the mainstream media wants to spin it this way or that way, we have people such as yourself, such as Crowman, people like Tim Pool, Luke Rakowski, wearechange.org, people like that, to actually be there and to show us as far as you can. Now with YouTube shutting all, almost all the aforementioned people's channels are being shut down or messed with by YouTube, unfortunately. But and everything's changing, folks. The whole media thing's changing. YouTube, I can almost guarantee within a year, you will find nothing but commercial crap on YouTube. You'll have to go and see us on Bitchute. But people like Keith are crucial to know what is actually going on. You can't trust the mainstream media. They lie about these events like crazy. So, Keith, I want to thank you very much for doing what you do, and also for doing this interview. And hopefully we can talk in the future about, in more detail, about the various things. Like, hopefully before April 15th, we can talk in greater detail about April 15th. That would be cool to do a 1 year later thing about that. But yeah, man, thank you very much. And also for your incredible patience and perseverance in trying to work through these horrible technical difficulties we've been dealing with for hours and hours today, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Anything you want to say now about returning now, just final words, returning now to March 4th, the whole constitutional right and free speech aspect with Antifa and with the police, any sort of final words that you would maybe want to convey to the audience about all those things?
Yeah, it's so important that people stand up, and, people like criticize, for example, Joey Gibson for marching in Antifa kind of dominated territory, whatever you want to call it, or marching right through Antifa, right through groups of Antifa. And I've done that with him a number of times. And he is not, people say, oh, you're there, you're trying to provoke or start a fight. It's like, no. I used to see a video all the time with Joey with his hands up, and he's there because he believes in the right to be able to go where you want, say what you want, do what you want, without being violently attacked.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why people showed up March 4th, people showed up April 15th, and on August 27th when I got attacked, that event was canceled. We knew that there would be virtually none of us there. I remember I was talking to like CSC Media Group people and some other people, and they're going, we're going to show there might only be 20 people. There could be hundreds of Antifa, but we're not going to let the threat of violence stop us. We're showing. And so I said, I'm there. And as it turned out, there were probably 5,000, BAM, Refuse Fascism, Antifa, and about probably 30 of us. So it turned out to be a messed up day. But, the point was, it's like, if you don't show up, if you don't stand up for your right to assemble or talk, and if no one is willing to take any risk about that, you're going to lose it. Period.
Yes, sir. It's why it's so crucial that people do what you do, man. All right, man. Well, thank you very much, brother. Good luck with the Halsey Live episode that will be for you tomorrow, but for the audience yesterday. And I'll put a link in the description so they can see that. But good luck with that, man. I hope that all goes smoothly, and hopefully that will get the word out, because it's very important. Very, very important. All right, man. So, brother, thank you very, very much, Keith.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right. Talk to you later.
You take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks. Thanks for listening, and thank you again, Keith, for your patience. I know it was a really difficult couple of days there. So, folks, scroll down, see the links below, click on them, and check it all out. Thanks for watching, everyone. Peace, love, freedom, and equality.